Guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be all about my experience as an older airman. This is a question that you guys have been asking me a lot lately, and I feel like now that I've been in almost a year, I've been through BMT, I've been through tech school, I've been operational for just a little while, but at least I can speak on my experience through all those different phases of being an airman at this point. So what it was like being an older airman during basic training, it basically felt like high school all over again, and I was the kind of person that hated high school. I did not have a good high school experience. So just to be around that many people that age again was a little bit, I don't know the right word. It was a little bit challenging, but overall, with all the life experience and everything that I've had up until this point, it was also easy for me to change my perspective, and change my mentality whenever I felt like I needed to. So even though it wasn't the most enjoyable experience to be around people that age again and to have to deal with all the drama and pettiness, it was easy to change my mentality and remember why I was there. I've had so much life experience up until this point, and there was no way that I was gonna let anything stand in the way between me and what I went there for. There was a girl in our flight for a short time that was older than me. She was in her early 30s. She did get sent home. She didn't pass her hearing test when we got there, but there was also one girl older than me and one girl that was the same age as me. And there's only gonna probably be a handful of people who are in their late 20s or early 30s. There's always gonna be a few, you're not gonna be the only one. And even if you are, who cares? You're going there for yourself to better your own life. You don't need to worry about your age, because honestly it doesn't make that big of a difference in basic training. So because I was about 9 years older than a lot of the girls that were there, they were leaving home for the first time, they hadn't been to college, we had very, very different life experiences up until that point. So I only keep in contact with 2 or 3 girls from my flight, and that's not very often. So I don't feel like I made best friends during basic training or anything like that. It was very hard to relate to literally my entire flight most of the time. Also, something a little bit weird is that I was older than our female MTI, so when I found that out, I was like, wow, that's weird. But it didn't change the way I looked at her or my respect for her. So when you're in basic training, you're gonna take classes pretty much all day, every day. And there are some about college and finances and stuff like that, how you can use your benefits for college or how to save money and not go into crazy debt. And it's for me, I was all right, I'm already tired and now none of this applies to me. So I was struggling to stay awake. I would always get called out in class. If you start to fall asleep or you do fall asleep, you're going to get in trouble, you're going to get called out. They're gonna tell you to stand in the back of the class. So yeah, I was usually just standing up in the back trying to stay awake, because a lot of the college stuff and finance stuff didn't apply to me. I've already got my degree. I mean, I could get my master's for free, but as of right now, I'm done with school. I had no interest in hearing about college. I was been there, done that. So there's things that you're gonna have to be patient for, and realize that basic training is tailored more towards 18 to 22-year-olds and not 28-year-olds. Something that was so funny to me, but also somewhat annoying, when you go into the day room in the evening, you have to watch these videos called What Now Airmen, and everyone who has seen them knows how cheesy they are, how unrelatable and unrealistic they are. It's honestly embarrassing to watch. So if those are already cheesy and funny and unrelatable to the people who they're trying to gear that towards, the 18 to 22-year-old age range, imagine how we feel as older airmen when we're sitting there and it's about underage drinking or something. I'm can I leave the room now? So I think one of the biggest benefits to being an older airman during basic training is perspective. Like I mentioned earlier, 8.5 weeks is nothing. It is such a short amount of time, especially when you're older and you've had more experience. I know for me, when I was younger, when I was 18, 2 or 3 months seems so much longer than it does now that I'm 28, and I feel time goes by faster as you get older. So I feel for me, that 8.5 weeks, it probably felt like it went faster to me than the others. I hope that makes sense, but perspective is a big deal, and I think is a big benefit when you're an older airman. I also felt I was a lot more self-motivated naturally, just because I've waited 10 years to do this. I waited so long to be at basic training. I've waited so long to wear this uniform. I've thought about it. I've regretted not doing it. It's something that I have worked very hard to get to. I'm not saying I was more motivated than anyone else there. I just think that when times were like hard or annoying or stressful, it goes back to perspective again. Like, it was easier for me to stay more motivated during those times and for things to affect me less, if that makes sense. I hope I'm explaining this well, but I did feel like it was easier for me to stay more self-motivated at times. That's pretty much all I could think of for basic training. If you guys have more questions about what it's like to be an older airman during basic training, you can leave them in the comments, or you can message me on Instagram at Brittany L. Willis. So being an older airman in tech school is not that big of a deal, because for me personally, in our class, we had a few prior service people, which means that they had a different job prior to that tech school. They were switching their AFSCs. So I was the second oldest person in my tech school class. There was a lady who was in her 40s who was like prior service back in the 90s, and she rejoined. So other than that, I was the oldest person in our class. There were 2 other prior service people, and they were in their 20s, but I was still older than them. And then I was also the same age as my instructors, or even older than some of them. And then same with my MTLs, like that worked in our dorm buildings. Some of them were the same age as me, or I was older, so it's a unique experience, I don't know. So something that's common in BMT is like, if you're older, then they might stick you with more responsibilities or a job like element leader or dorm chief. So that didn't happen to me in basic training. I think that it's because I don't look my age, so I may have gotten lucky, I'm not sure. But in tech school, you definitely get closer with your instructors, obviously, than you do with your MTIs at BMT. So my instructors knew how old I was. I had a longer tech school, and you know, you get pretty close with your class and you have your instructors for a while. So they knew how old I was. So in our exercise blocks towards the end of my tech school, we did have jobs or cells assigned. So in one of the most difficult blocks, I got the most difficult job assigned with the most difficult instructor. I don't know if that's because I was older. The job I got was called NCOIC, so non-commissioned officer in charge. I don't know if that was because of my age. Don't know if they just thought I could do it, but when you're older in BMT or in tech school, you may get extra responsibilities or more difficult jobs assigned to you simply because you're older. It's weird because I feel like there's times where I'm getting a second chance at like feeling younger again and living those ages again. And then there's other times where I'm like, wow, I feel so old compared to like all these people around me. Okay, so moving on to operational. I've only been operational like less than 2 months. It's a short amount of time. But so far, just the biggest differences I've noticed as being an older airman, again, it doesn't make that big of a difference because you're working with officers, you're working with higher enlisted. There's all different ranks in your squadron and in your flight and in your office directly, like working right next to someone. I work with captains closely on a daily basis. We're all in the same room. So basically everyone is like different ages, different ranks, different life experiences, different backgrounds. It really doesn't make that big of a difference. When I first arrived to my first duty station, I did have to sit through like another in-processing week where they went over so many briefs about the base in general, and there were a lot of things about, again, college and finance, and a lot that didn't apply to me personally at this time in my life. But also, it's not just like first-term airmen or airmen that go to these classes. Every single person from like an E1 to an O5 or whoever is in processing to the base, they all have to go through the same briefs. They all have to go through the same classes when you first arrive to this base. So I was in that class with, again, all different ages, all different ranks. So I wasn't the only one sitting there feeling like, wow, most of this does not apply to me. Basically, overall, please don't just not join because of your age. If you feel like you're older or it's too late, they raised the age limit for a reason. It's 39 years old. So if you are under 39 years old, it is not too late. And it's not too difficult, it's not too weird. So stop letting fear talk, stop being insecure about your age, and if it's something you really want to do for yourself, then I say do it. That's pretty much been my experience so far as an older airman. If you guys have any other questions for me, as always, just leave them in the comments. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Brittany L. Willis. I try to answer your guys' messages on there as much as I can. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.